Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. In the previous episode, we saw the touching moment when Lytuna gently took care of Alex's mother while she wasn't feeling well. But today, things take a shocking turn. We're about to witness a scene where a guest walks into Alex's house with a fake smile, only to insult Lytuna behind everyone's back, and gets publicly humiliated when Alex catches her red-handed. It's dramatic, emotional, and unbelievably satisfying to watch. If you enjoy this story, don't forget to hit that subscribe button so you won't miss any of our upcoming episodes. Morning sunlight poured softly through the windows of Alex's family living room, warming the polished wooden floor and the familiar tea table at its center. The house was quiet, peaceful. But the woman sitting alone on the sofa wasn't thinking about morning routines or chores. She was thinking about Lytuna. The memory of that day flashed so clearly, Lytuna gently lifting her up, placing a warm towel on her hands, spoon-feeding her bowl after bowl of hot porridge when she was too weak to lift her own arms. No hesitation, no complaint, just care. Genuine, simple, selfless care. In times like these, women like her are a rare blessing, she thought, a soft smile touching her lips. Then, ding-dong, the doorbell. She rose, walked slowly toward the door, and opened it. "Oh my goodness, I finally get to see you again." A loud, overly cheerful voice rang out. "It's me, Hugh." She nodded politely. "Come inside." The moment the guest stepped in, her eyes swept the room in an assessing glance before she sat down with an exaggerated sigh of comfort. "You always keep your home so lovely," she complimented, placing a small gift bag on the table. "I rarely get a day off, so I thought, why not drop by to visit my dear friend?" Tea was poured, but before a single question could be asked, the guest launched right into her story. "You know, my daughter Mai has been talking about Alex non-stop. Non-stop. She said that since she started working at his company, he trusted her with so many important clients already. And imagine, she even managed to bring in several big customers at her age." She leaned forward proudly, eyes shining like she was reciting a resume. "Mai is such a quick learner, polite, educated, charming. Clients adore her. Even Alex praises her. Not many young women nowadays can accomplish what she has in such a short time." A gentle smile appeared, but the hostess's eyes didn't share the same excitement. Inside, only one thought echoed. Skills and education are good, but kindness like Lytuna's, that's gold. But her guest didn't pause long enough for her to speak. "You know," she continued, scooting closer, "the kids have known each other since childhood. And now working together, same environment, same goals. A perfect match, don't you think?" Before the hostess could reply, both of her hands were suddenly grabbed tightly. "Let me be honest," the visitor said, voice trembling dramatically. "We've known each other for so long. If those two ended up married, even if I died tomorrow, I'd die satisfied. A successful son-in-law like Alex, a smart daughter like Mai. What more could a mother want?" The hostess felt her cheeks warm with embarrassment. She gently pulled her hands back. "We should let the children make their own choices," she replied calmly. "Forcing things isn't always good." But the guest clearly wasn't listening. She was already gearing up for her next speech. "Oh, of course, she waved dismissively. "But as parents, we should create opportunities. They work together every day. They have chemistry. They understand each other. Meanwhile," her tone dropped, suddenly sly, "I'm worried about something else." A frown appeared. What do you mean? Well, the guest leaned close, lowering her voice as if whispering a scandal. Mai told me Alex has been getting involved with a woman who already has a child. The air in the room froze. She continued anyway. For heaven's sake, why would a successful young man like Alex get entangled with someone like that? Honestly, I feel bad for him. A man with his future shouldn't waste it on that type of woman. That type. Those words stung deeper than insults. But the guest wasn't finished. I'm telling you this because I care, she added, hand on her chest. Women like that, they attach themselves to wealthy men for one reason: money, security. They're not looking for love. They're looking for someone to carry them and their child. It's pure calculation. A teacup was set down sharply. Hugh, the hostess warned softly, you shouldn't. But she was interrupted immediately. Oh, trust me. I've lived long enough to recognize these things. If it were my house, I wouldn't even let her step into the doorway. What she didn't know was that someone had just stepped into the doorway. Alex. He stood there frozen, one hand still on the doorframe, having heard every poisonous word. His jaw tightened, his fist curled. The warmth usually found in his eyes was gone, replaced by something colder than stone. The guest was still talking loudly, waving her hands, unaware that her audience had changed. I mean, imagine a single mother wrapping herself around a successful man. Honestly, it's pathetic. She's lucky anyone even looks at her, let alone. The door hinge creaked. She turned. Her whole body jolted. The look of a person caught red-handed poured over her face for a split second, but was quickly wiped away and replaced by a sugary smile. Oh, Alex, you're home, sweetheart. Co was just talking about you, she gushed, voice suddenly high-pitched and sweet. But Alex didn't move, didn't smile, didn't even blink. He stepped forward slowly, his footsteps heavy, deliberate. Then, he looked her straight in the eyes. His voice was calm, too calm, and that calmness was sharper than any shout. Alex stood in the center of the living room, shoulders squared, eyes locked onto the woman sitting on the sofa. There was no warmth in his gaze, only the quiet fury of someone who had finally heard enough. He spoke slowly, clearly, every word cutting sharper than the last. Ko-Hu, you're a longtime friend of my mother. I respect that, and I'm grateful you came to visit her. A faint smile spread across her lips, relieved, thinking she had managed to slip out of trouble. But Alex wasn't finished. So let me say this in a way that's polite, but leaves absolutely no confusion. The smile on her face froze. If you ever speak about Lytuna the way you just did, ever again, I won't hesitate to do exactly what we say in my hometown. I'll let the dogs out when you show up at the door. Her eyes widened. Color drained from her face. The room fell painfully silent. She tried to laugh it off, voice wobbling. Oh, come on, Alex. Surely you misunderstood. I wasn't saying anything bad. I was just worried about you, that's all. I mean, you have a future. You're successful. You deserve someone. Alex lifted a hand, stopping her cold. No, you don't get to twist your words now. I heard everything. He took one step closer. She instinctively leaned back. You insulted someone who hasn't done a single thing to harm you. Someone who has gone through hardships you know nothing about. Someone kinder and more genuine than most people you'll meet in your lifetime. She opened her mouth to defend herself, but he didn't give her the chance. And you didn't just insult her, you insulted her child. A little boy who calls my mother Grandma. A boy who didn't choose the life he was born into, yet you talked about him like he was trash. He pointed to the door. Stand up. The woman froze, completely stunned. He repeated, firmer, Stand up. She slowly rose from the sofa, her forced smile trembling in the corner of her lips. I think you're overreacting, Alex. I only wanted what's best for you. I was just saying. But he stepped even closer, voice rising like thunder. Get out. The force of the words echoed through the entire house. His mother, who had been quiet until now, hurried forward, lightly placing a hand on his arm, not to stop him, but to guide the situation with dignity. Alex, calm down, she said gently, but her eyes revealed something else. Pride. She approved of every word he had spoken. Still, she maintained her poise and turned toward the visitor. You should go home now. It's getting late. Humiliated, the guest swallowed hard and gathered her purse with shaking fingers. Her face was red. Part anger, part embarrassment, part disbelief that her arrogance had finally met someone who wouldn't bow to it. She tried to regain composure. Well, if that's how you two want to treat someone who cares. Alex cut in sharply. No, someone who cares doesn't tear down innocent people just to make their own daughter look better. She stiffened. He continued. You came here to praise Mai and force a match between us. Fine. But the moment you started insulting Tuna just to push your agenda, that's when you crossed the line. Her lips pressed into a thin line. She clutched her handbag tighter. I'll leave, she muttered. I don't want to stay in a house where people misunderstand me. Alex's jaw flexed. Believe me, nobody here misunderstands anything. She moved slowly toward the door, trying to keep what little dignity she had left. But the shame clung to her like a shadow. Her steps faltered as she reached the threshold. Right before stepping out, she turned back, voice trembling with wounded pride. I only wanted what was best for Alex. His mother answered this time, her tone calm but unshakably firm. What's best for my son is someone with a good heart, someone who treats others with kindness, someone who doesn't look down on people because of their past. If you can't see that, then you never truly cared about him. The final blow landed. The woman flinched. Then she slipped out the door and left, half running, half stumbling, unable to bear the weight of the humiliation. The door closed behind her with a solid, echoing thud. Silence lingered for a few long seconds. Then Alex exhaled, tension draining from his shoulders. His mother looked at him, really looked at him, and her eyes softened with pride. You spoke harshly, she said softly, but you spoke from the heart. Alex nodded, voice quieter now. I couldn't let her talk about Tuna like that. Not her, and not Henry. They don't deserve it. His mother smiled, finally voicing what she'd been keeping inside. You truly care about them. He didn't deny it. He didn't need to. Instead, he looked toward the window, toward the direction of the farm, where Tuna and little Henry were probably having their lunch, completely unaware of the storm that had just passed. I love them, he said simply. His mother's heart swelled. She placed a gentle hand on his shoulder. Then, one day, when the time is right, tell them. And don't be afraid. Anyone with a heart can see that girl is special. Alex nodded slowly, a sense of resolve settling deeply inside him. Outside the house, the wind blew softly through the trees, carrying away the last of the poisonous words that had filled the room minutes earlier. Inside, for the first time in a long time, it felt like a home that was truly ready to welcome something beautiful. In today's episode, a visitor arrives at Alex's home with a warm smile but a hidden agenda. She praises her daughter Mai endlessly, trying to push a marriage between Alex and Mai. While Alex's mother listens politely, her heart is already with Lytuna, the woman who cared for her so gently when she was unwell. The conversation shifts sharply when the guest begins insulting Lytuna and even looks down on Henry, calling them the wrong kind of people for someone like Alex. What she doesn't know is that Alex has returned home and overhears every cruel word. He steps in at the perfect moment, confronts her directly, and throws her out of the house without hesitation. The scene ends with Alex openly defending Lytuna and Henry, confirming his deep feelings for them.